Hi everybody, today I will show you my next sketchbook that I have completed. For me it's the new step in the development of my art body, the collection of my things. Let's see how we can go through this tour. And the paper I was using for my sketches, it is Sennelier watercolor paper, pure rag. The size is A4, not very big but not small as well. I'm using as watercolor, so I have a box like this, this size, where I put my half pans with the Schmincke watercolor. This is very good and very convenient size that I can take with me. Well, the first page I did at the beginning of the year. A portrait that you have already seen in my how-to series of video clips. And then I put it aside and made my Moleskine watercolor sketchbook, and then I made as well Clairefontaine sketchbook that I consider the best quality of paper for me. This is the sketchbook that I'm showing you today, is my work during the September and beginning of October. There is 20 sketches. So here we have mostly urban sketches of Geneva city that I wanted to study compositions and acquire the skills for watercolor washes. I'm using, as you see here, fountain pen drawing. This is my first sketch of Bel Air Plus in Geneva. Here I started to draw and it begins raining, and so it was a little bit tricky to continue, but I'm still very happy with the result because quite quick sketch, and you see even the drops of the rain on the water plan. This is the Rhone River coming from Geneva Lake. And what is also important for me here, that I was trying to make to put colors in one wash, and to get the needed intensity. Then another sketch from the Halles de Lille, as well in Geneva, the same river, and it's quicker, but at the end of the day I was limited with the time because the sunset at this moment, you see this 11th of September, I could work till 8 p.m. so then there were no light at all. But here what is interesting for me was the this part of the Rhone river that I wanted. This was the let's say a first study how I can represent the water. Then the next step was to go to go to the Geneva Lake and to find a spot to be able to continue this study, how to show water in my watercolor paintings. And here, this is because you know, of course, that there are two different, at least there are two different techniques. So one is the putting on a dry surface, relatively dry brush, so to get the very sharp edges of the brush stroke. And the other technique is to work wet in wet. So it means that the surface of paper is still wet, and when you put new wash or new stroke of color, the edges are very smooth, and the color is diffused on this wet paper surface. So and it is also a question of timing, because this wet surface is drying over the time. So more time you let the paper dry, more are visible the brush edges, brush stroke edges. So this aspect is probably the most important to get control of for the artistic expression, because here you have the sphere where you need to know the time needed for the paper to be completely from let's say from completely wet to completely dry. So in this time period you have to work, and from my experience I can say that different papers have different time of drying. So here we are 12th of September on the Geneva Lake, and this is the restaurant in a boat. So the thing is quite, let's say, interesting to paint, and with a small bridge that let the clients go on the boat and to take their dinner or whatever. And in the background you see the Jura Mountains and the other bank of Geneva Lake. So I made it quite, let's say, rapidly, 1 hour for this image. Then I went to a bridge over the Rhone river with a building which is called which is called the time machine, something like this. And here we see that the weather conditions were very good. There was a bright sunlight lighting on the trees and this building of a bank. But of course with time sunlight is moving, so shadows, everything is moving. So I have to work rapidly, and I made quickly the line drawing with my fountain pen, and then washed with watercolor. And I think that here I could get this bright sunlight, so it's very good. Then the water here is quite good, but has to be developed more, because why I would like to make better, because here it is mostly dry on dry, let's say, because the edges are very, very sharp. So I would like to make it smoother. For example, the sky I like very much because the gradients are very good. The light on the trees are excellent for me here, even if there are only two let's say values, the bright green and the dark, and that's all. But for this study, it's very good, I think. So here what I like as well is the background with this line of buildings that I could make very rapidly and only in one wash. So it keeps how we say keeps its this transparent quality of watercolor by comparison with this part or that, which is quite complex and charged with layers of washes. Then we are here with the same image of the restaurant boat, and here we have a kind of a new treatment. So I have tried here to make more wet and wet technique. So here you see I did the part of the water visible here, at least at the beginning. I made in the same technique as the sky, and then of course there are some dried brush on dried surface strokes, but it is quite impressive for me because it was a step forward for such, let's say, complex drawing that I have made without any pencil preparation. So it is directly with the fountain pen on a white sheet of paper, and then watercolor washes over this. So here we have another sketch on the 16th of September. This is the Quai Gustave Adore on the left side of Geneva Lake, and it's quite interesting, and it was painted in almost in one wash for all colors. So this quality, what I'm searching for, is to be able to get the needed intensity in one wash. So with experience, I think it's possible, because when we're mixing color on a palette and applying it, we have more or less idea of the intensity that we will get, and the experience coming not only from the color, but how the color acts on this particular paper. This is important to know absolutely the quality of paper used for these sketches. The next one is the building of the Frank Müller watch shop that I made as well on location. All these sketches are made on location, and the first part, the drawing, I made even without a tripod, so keeping my sketchbook in hands and drawing directly. And then for for the washes, I put my tripod, and then to be able to have more control of the washes. So this is quite also fresh, as even if I can put this expression, fresh drawing. Now over there we see some hints on the Boulevard des Tranchées. So the next one, always always in searching of an interesting point of view and composition. Here I came over a spot where there is a museum backside of a rat museum, and another building with a flower shop, a plant and green shop, and we have here framed by these two buildings a part of the old town, which is on the, let's say, on the hills, on the other level. And especially this building is very, very beautiful and interesting, with the balcony, and we will see later that there is also a quite interesting story with this building. So what was interesting here, I remember that if we were looking from this point of view, we can get the two facades of this building. Of course, we have this is unchanged, but these two buildings we can't put it together without moving my tripod. So I noticed this from the very beginning. So that's why the composition was designed taking in consideration these elements. So I first put this facade on my sketch. I was looking a little bit like this from this angle to have all the details, and then I moved my tripod to this point to be able to draw this facade. Well, okay, you see, it took me 2 hours to make this, and light changes, and also lot of details. I was a little bit lost in washes, let's say, but as a graphic design, as a line drawing, I'm very satisfied with the result, because in any case it is a study for an interesting composition, and I will probably came later to remake the same idea, but then to study how I could put colors in a better way, and to be, let's say, more clear with light and shadows, because here we are a little bit lost with this point. But anyhow, it's quite impressive, and you know, this is the advantage of drawing over a photography, that you can draw what you want to see. You know, some details that are not significant for you, you can just skip and not put it inside. With photography, there are some tricks that give you this possibility, but it is different. So here, for example, this window was blocked with how to say something. It was completely closed. So I imagined, and I took the same parameters as for the windows over here to imagine how it will be. You know, the divided space of the glass, and as well here, you know, all these elements, and of course for the people it is important to me, and it is more and more to put people to have the idea of the perspective view and of the scale of the image, to see, for example, how this person compares to the size of this window, and then the street here, which is Rue de la Coraterie, which is a little bit further, and what is the size of the passers-by. So I made it at the end, almost at the end of September, on the 29th of September. Then same building as several days before. Here, where it is? Here, this one. You see, here, 19th of September, and here I am almost 10 days later. I came over on more or less the same location, but from different angles, and I was too close to the building because the street is narrow. So suddenly I had this idea to make a composition of not the whole, but the details of some buildings, and I told myself it's even more interesting because I can do more details in these very beautiful ornamentation of the windows grills, and also the ornamentation of all the openings and columns and pilasters and all these things. You know, these particular designs, and as well human figure to be able to show clearly what is the size really of these elements. And then here we are on the place of Holland, and also all these banks around. I have to say that it was as well at the end of the day, and I was finishing the drawing when there were no light at all. So you see the sky, and here we have already the electric lights in the windows. So it was almost dusk, and but anyhow I left this location with feeling that I finished this drawing. So satisfied with the result. I think it could be developed as well to be as a composition, because all these colors here, for example, also for me it's beautiful because it's very lightly washed, not overdone. This is very good for watercolor work. Then here we are already in October. I made some sketches, but outside this sketchbook, and I will present them later. But for now, I continue with this Sennelier watercolor sketchbook to show you this one, which is also very interesting because you know, to produce these urban sketches, I'm walking over the city to find an interesting view, to find an interesting spot, and sometimes it is really impressive that I'm really attracted by a composition that I would like to draw, but the let's say the location is so tricky, so difficult, because here you see I am almost on the pedestrian passage over the road. So and here behind me there were no space at all. So I was literally close to the wall of the building, and very narrow trottoir, pedestrian way, and now at this point I was already experienced with drawing, holding my sketchbook on hands without a tripod, and I could accomplish this composition, which is here I always I also wanted to put a little bit more colorful sky. This is the sunset, and this sunset I wanted to paint in wet technique. So it is by itself, I think this area is very interesting, and will serve me for the next sketches, because here I have the experience to see how it performs on this type of paper. Well, I wanted to say that this paper is very difficult to work with, because for me at least, because the time of drying, or how the paints laid down, I was not able to control totally. But the composition is, for me, it's really interesting. That's why I almost sacrificed all the, let's say, the comfort, if possible, of the painting on location, just to be able to catch this moment, you know. And also, fortunately, you know, the sun was almost right in my eyes, so there was a little bit shadows sometimes, but generally speaking, was a perfect and memorable day of sketching. So that's why I was so happy with this result, that I came the next day to the same spot. So here you see the place where I was to paint this one. So it's here, this just close to this window, restaurant window, and looking in this direction. Here we have the building for the students, for the Geneva students, and here in the background it is the medicine faculty. Now it's the philosophy building. It is called like this, and this is the place of a star, Place de l'Étoile. No, sorry, Place de la Tour. So it's tour, tower place. Tower place. The sketch here, I'm very glad with the colors. It was done almost in the same let's series. So 8 October, 10 October. The color harmony was more or less the same. So the next day I came over to put me here, just under this shelter, because at this time of the year there was already raining and windy and all you can imagine. So I went to put my tripod here under this roof to paint this view. So you see here, and this is the view which was open, because I was interested by this building with this large glass facade from the two sides, making this angle and reflecting the buildings and the trees over this. And here still I used the same color harmony or color scheme a little bit. Well, this is really the color of the green stone used for the building, because there was a source for this stone close to Geneva, and the most of the buildings of this is here we are at the 90s, the end of the 19th century, I think beginning of the 20th century, and most of the buildings were made from this green tone stone. Well, it's quite I should tell that I made it in 2 days, because first was the drawing and the second was just coloring. Then I moved on the 13th of October, 12 October, 13th of October, there was a splendid light and sunshine for the weekend. And here I was just walking through this part of the old town, and this part you see the building here with the balcony on all this. I have already drawn this one, and I like very much all this complexity, you know, this balcony, rounded, you see the rounded shapes like this overcasting the gardens here, and all these things are private, and there is only this public way which goes down to the place with the theaters and museums and all the things. So here we have only this kind of entrance through the gardens and the parking boxes. and nothing other than that. So and it looks like the nest, you know, the bird's nest on the hills of the old town. And it was quite quite let's say, how I can put it, the weather was so fine, and the feeling, all these things, you know, with the sunshine, it's always fantastic. So what I wanted to make later, to avoid this type of things, because here it was not cloudy. Normally I wanted to have a very smooth and constant, let's say, color and value. But this type of things, that because I added water during the washes and pigment as well, so it made this more intensified areas. It is still very interesting to see and to watch how pigment works by itself on a different paper condition, wet, dry, if we add some pigment or not, and all these things. So the trees for me are very, very beautiful with this color. This is all Schmincke colors, and the green, light green, yellow green is very beautiful, I think. And well, here you see these human figures, also to get the scale of the image. So here you have all these interesting shapes and levels of and grounds of the volumes. The first, the front level, and then the back, middle, and all these things. And it is a little bit too complex for the moment. I think that I need to simplify the design and washes, and simplify with all these take off all these texture elements, to be able to focus only on the things that I want to show. For example, here was the interesting part was this architecture, and the other distracting elements need to be a little bit, let's say, calmed and to be make more pale or less important. This is an idea. But anyhow, so I did it in 2 hours on the 13th of October. Then I came back to the cathedral, St. Peter's Cathedral, because I tried already 3 times to draw these buildings with the elements around the place in front of the cathedral, and I can tell that I was overwhelmed by the details, complexity. Everything goes straight to your view, and at a certain point you don't know how to organize, how to manage all this kind of information. So here I decided to simplify to a maximum, and to paint and to draw very rapidly. So during already several studies and sketches, I was trying and experimenting with what will be more rapid, quick. Do I start with the pencil drawing and then apply the line art with fountain pen, or do I make the drawing directly with the pen and ink? And well, sometimes I think that the pencil drawing could take more time. So and finally I have no time to put colors, and sometimes I think that pencil preparation give you the possibility to put your composition on this particular paper size. So you block your composition with the things, and then you just make the fountain pen drawing, ink drawing, over the pencil drawing, and it sometimes it can make it quicker. So here I did it this way. I put first the pencil drawing, and then it was not really a drawing, so it was really a sketch, very quick composition, just to block in a global volumes the elements that I wanted to see on my paper, and then overwriting with the ink, and then rapidly, because at this particular moment there was still sunshine, sun rays coming on the main facade, and everything is already other is already in a shadow. So I started to put all the shadow in the blue, light blue color, to block and to simplify the forms. So as I told myself that I will do it with just with blue color. So in this case it was still ultramarine finest, and lightly taking in account my experience when I showed you that if I personally do the shadow with very intense gray or dark warm grays, it comes quite messy, and this is not what I'm searching for in the watercolor. I want to get the very light transparent colors, even in shadows. So the shadow must be painted with color, not with a dark value. This is the idea. So with this point in my head, I started putting in place shadows with a big wash, and then completed with the light areas with the a warm ochre, yellow ochre, to put this sun rays on the main facade. And I did it in 1 hour, all this composition, and was very happy with the result. You know, then I added a little bit to a little bit value here to the ground level to distinguish a little bit the white color walls with the more darker value of the pavements, of the stones on this place. Then the next day was so impressed with the results, so I came the next day to experiment with the same technique. So first blocking the in big volumes my composition with the pencil, and going over with ink. Here you can see this is the sky with only one value, what I was looking for, and here I can get it, and also the shadow area also washed in one straight action. You know, this makes it unified, and I think it amplifies the light area, which is a complementary color, and it pops up. It's very good, and even some figures here. There is a lot of people that I could put on this image. So they are really apropos to show the scale of the building. Well, I must say that the end of washes there was not light, so I have to continue just with memorized elements, and even maybe drawn, and then coloring. It is let's say based on memory, how it was just several moments before. And here this image that the last one in this sketchbook, this is in the old town. I'm standing under the roof of the place with the cannons, and this is the oldest family town, where there is a museum to show how people were living in Geneva at this time. So this is Maison Tavel. The weather was horrible. I can tell you, the wind, rain, you see umbrella, the wet pavements and all these things. And I did it in 2 days. The first day I put the drawing in place, and the next day I came to make my washes. And here these gentle pastel effects were possible because I did all the color mixture and paint mixture on the palette, and then with a ready color I applied very light washes to get this pastel effect, because there were no hard sunlight to make the difference. And this is also interesting to show Geneva in these colors, because it's quite long periods of the year when you see the the facades of the old town in this condition, you know, this without hard shadows, or it's very gentle, and like the photographers say, with the enormous soft box which is the sky, you know, and this lighting, this omnipresent, but very, very gentle. And also you see this green color for the stones which were used to build all these things. So here we are at the end of this sketchbook. This drawing I made on the 17th of October. So it was already during the Inktober challenge where I was taking part, and that's why here you see my drawings that are not every day. Well, here 16th, 17th and 18th. Okay, so thank you for watching. Also some color swatches I made recently. You know, this is so with my Schmincke palette. See you in the next video, and take care. Just draw and produce more. We can say do more. Thank you. Bye.